Hey, this is James,
This is Chelsea.
and welcome to Lights
Camera
Action Podcast. All right, we are on to episode 2.
Episode 2.
Yay!
And there's also part 2 of Sir Charlie Chaplin.
Oh, yes, the pioneer of it all.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, what a freaky deek this guy is.
Yeah, we will definitely get into the freaky deek content
My
in
goodness.
this one. He has quite a checkered history with women.
Yep, like we told you, get ready for episode 2 and buckle up because it's kind of a wild ride.
Alright, I
so,
wanted to run back on a few things. I know we talked about early life, early film career in the first one.
Yep.
I did want to credit, however, that his first actual film role was in February of 1914. It was called Making a Living. And, you know, at this, when he started, you
yeah.
know, of course, they were doing just little short, silent films, you know.
yeah.
So they were shooting however so many of them each week because they were so short. And they didn't, you know, require a huge budget or whatever. But yeah, the first one that he appeared in was 1914. And then the second appearance is one of the most fondly remembered.
I'm guessing the tramp.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, indeed. The character which
Shocker.
he constructed on his own, just kind of rummaging through costume bits one day while they were, you know, getting ready to film. He said he wanted the look to be contradictory to everything about itself. So like, he had baggy pants and a tight vest, and he had like a small hat and huge shoes, and he kind of, you know, adopted the little waddle that we're all used to seeing him walk around, you know, in the big shoes and the whole like waddle thing.
Right, yeah.
So that-
and that's why I was like, when I was getting into things about Charlie Chaplin, like I was like, well, like I told you before, I never really seen anything with him in it. And so I was like, oh, so this is Charlie Chaplin, the guy that just looks straight up weird. But I think that's what he was trying to do, is to make everybody laugh because of how weird he looks, and it's kind of out of the norm.
Yeah,
But
I mean, it was also like there was nobody like him at the time for sure. So
right,
I mean, audiences were just immediately just drawn to, you know, the look and, you know, the costume, the whole character, the persona that he adopted. And also, his comedy had, we mentioned before, he wanted to be like in a slapstick set of mind, you know, to make people, because a lot of what he was trying to do was alleviate people's, you know, dread, sadness, you know, all the things that he felt growing up, you know, with his mother being impoverished, all that stuff. He was trying to figure out how to make it better for himself as well, but also to entertain other people with it.
yeah.
And that's why people were attracted to him almost immediately, because his comedy had an underlying like purpose, you know, had an underlying like, you know, he was drawing attention to, okay, this is the state of the world at this moment, and this is happening. We're gonna have fun with it, but it's a serious thing also.
Yeah, at that point, it was just, everything was really bad. I mean, it seemed like the whole United States, England, like the whole world was just plunk at that point. It's like the only words I can explain is like plunk. And I mean, it was just like, there's a lot of things that were in turmoil. You have the Great Depression that's going to be coming up, which is another movie that he did things on.
Yep.
Which I believe is just called The Great Depression, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe so.
And I believe that's
I know
what it was called.
I've seen that one several times. Yeah.
Because, I mean, that was the point in time when he also did a movie called Kid Otto Races at Venice. So he was doing that, and that's one of his earlier films to kind of go along with The Tramp, is in 1914. So he actually did that before The Tramp. And that was actually one of the movies that wasn't common, just because I mean, they didn't really explain a whole bunch of why it wasn't really super common, but it is one of his like lost gem movies that nobody knows about.
You know
And
what?
so
That's true actually, because that's I don't think that's one that I am very familiar with.
right, and you're like the Charlie Chaplin connoisseur.
Well, I don't know about connoisseur, but
But yeah,
And
you know a lot about him.
I'm sure there's I mean that proves it. There's a couple that I have not even discovered. So
Yeah.
that's great. Yeah, I did not know
what I
about
did to
that
my
one, actually.
wrist. I don't know what I did to my wrist, but it hurts like heck.
Well, maybe you should quit chewing on it.
I know, right? I'm hungry.
Put a cone around your head like a dog.
I know, and hope it don't rain.
Quit chewing on them stitches, boy.
It's just like all of a sudden, like past couple of days. I don't know why. It's just, I don't know. I put some of that biofree stuff on that, and that's helped temporarily.
Yeah, I've never used that stuff, but I hear that it's. I mean, it's pretty.
Yeah.
I hear it's pretty fleeting, actually.
Right. Yeah.
Like a couple hours, maybe.
I'm like, what the heck is going on here? Anywho,
that was an awesome side step.
Yep. This is what we're all about here.
Right. Like, oh, Charlie
Put in
Chaplin's
some
awesome.
random crap.
I'm broken.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm in a lot of pain, and we're fighting colds apparently.
Yeah. I've had a throat thing for going on a week and a half that I can't figure out.
Yeah.
But at least it's not leaving, so.
Yeah, it's like a summer cold, and I get to work, and I'm like, I'm trying.
Like, this place sucks.
Yeah. No more. So when you mentioned the Tramp, since you are also a pretty huge Disney fan.
Yeah.
Funny little side note is that Walt Disney was actually coming up with ideas around this time of 1925, 1930, I believe. I could be wrong. But when Walt Disney was coming around to figuring out what he wants to do for his theme park and characters and this, obviously Mickey Mouse is the first thing he was thinking of.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, he was coming up with ideas for Mickey Mouse, and he was excited about how Charlie Chaplin's character in The Tramp is portrayed, that he decided to use the baggy clothes and big shoe style, and how he made everybody laugh and how everybody thought it was ridiculous and all that kind of stuff, but also capture the audience as well, because it's not something you would normally see. And that is how Mickey Mouse looks because of Charlie Chaplin.
That's so cool. And you know what? That actually does track, because I wrote down in here that something I came across Charlie Chaplin when he he exploded pretty much overnight.
Yeah.
And he started to be like when the Tramp exploded, there's like merchandise of the Tramp like in the stores, like the figures and the dolls, and then he was on cartoons and comic books and all kinds of stuff. So he was the household name kind of thing that happened even before Mickey Mouse. So that actually tracks that Walt Disney kind of structured him off of what he had come up with.
Yeah.
Because I also found something about that when I was researching.
Which is super cool.
Yeah.
And big shout out for David Howard Thornton for doing Screamboat.
Oh, hell yeah.
I finally got through it.
David Howard Thornton is, well, he didn't enjoy it as much as I did. I saw it in the theater when it came out, and you've got to, that one, you definitely have to go into that one knowing that it's completely stupid.
Yeah.
And even David Howard Thornton says that in interviews. He says, it's so stupid. It's so over the top, and as long as you go into it with that mindset, you should be fine. Which
yeah.
I totally enjoyed it, and the big thing for me is practical effects.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm so happy that so many directors are now returning to that, especially in horror. Yeah. Because when you watch like a movie that's got CGI blood versus like a practical effect blood, you can immediately tell when it's CGI. Yep. And that just takes you out of the whole thing.
Yep.
And I do not like that. So. Yeah, the Terrifier and Screamboat, props on the practical effects for both of those, just awesome.
Big fans here.
Big fan. David Howard Thornton's my king. I would love to have him on here.
That would be awesome. So, if anybody's listening out there and you know David Howard Thornton,
hey, David Howard Thornton's agent. Whoever represents you.
Yeah.
And I love that man so much. We should love to get him on.
You heard it here first at Lincoln. Oh my gosh, you can't even talk.
At what?
At Lincoln. We live in Lincoln, Nebraska. Yes, that's true.
Yeah, we do. Fortunately.
At Lights, Camera, Action
Podcast.
So look us up. We got 6 subscribers so far. Anybody that's listening, subscribe and like, please.
Yes, please.
The heck out of it.
We are, like I said, this is the first time we have ever done this before.
Yep. I think we're doing okay.
I think we're doing okay. This
Second episode, moving right along.
shows that people are actually watching it and listening to it. So
Yep.
you know.
Got a little bit of feedback already, so that's been nice.
There's some people that actually care about what we ramble on about, so that's actually pretty cool.
Yep. And if you hear kids in the background, that's just my kids. They are very loud, and yep, they're at that young age.
They're actually pretty well contained in there right now.
Yeah, they're in the bedroom, and I'm hoping they're not killing each other.
Right,
But
it doesn't sound like it.
I don't hear any mutes or anything going on, so they're
hear any like
yeah.
pillow over your face.
Yeah.
One of them comes out.
I'm just
Dad,
waiting.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm waiting for a or Daddy.
Or like a crash.
Yeah. I'm like, all right, well, so far so good.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So.
All right. So next, I do want to
yeah.
mention actually, since we're still in 1914 with this, his third on-screen role was in Caught in the Rain.
Oh.
It was also his
Nice.
directorial debut because his previous ones had done so well, and he's still with Keystone at this point.
Mm-hmm.
His previous ones had done so well that Senate's like, hey, you know, we'll give you a budget of $1,500 or a salary of $1,500 to be in and direct this next one. So
Right. Yeah.
so he
And that's a huge jump up from the $150 a week he was doing.
Oh
So
man, his entire career is him jumping up in like no time at all. Like he just
right.
is
And
making the money. Like
I was doing the math, and it was the $150 was $1,500 a week, with him making $1,500 a week for 2024 2025 statistics. It's about $48,000 a week.
wow,
So that's a huge jump.
dang.
A huge jump. And so it's like, okay. And then at this point, he knows that he can attract audiences. He can do his own stuff. Like you said, directorial debut.
Yes, he is definitely starting to recognize that as a fact, and he is definitely starting to see that he can start to have more influence in it, which is by the end of his career he's going to have so much influence in everything that he does.
Right. And then even with that, it attracted a large fan base of having everybody just see his movies are just pop. They're just coming out.
Oh,
1913,
people,
1914,
yeah.
1915,
People
They're, yeah.
And like let's see, I was going to okay, so then
But then he got like a large fan base and demanded
did.
more money
he did
as
what
he
he
moved to
that's what I've got.
Mutual and First National corporations.
Yes. So
Yeah.
he it's that I got here when his contract renewal with Keystone was up. He said that he requested that Senate up his salary to $1,000 per week because they were being so successful. Senate, however, refused that because he thought it was too high.
That's right. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then he actually got an offer from so I'm saying this right, S&E Film Company of Chicago.
I'm trying to read what I wrote.
Yeah, well, my writing is not, when I'm just writing, things, I'm not, like, trying to be fancy or anything. James.
I know.
So they offered him $1,250 a week.
Oh, man.
And a signing bonus of, get this one,
Oh, that's right.
$10,000.
10,000, yeah.
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 So
that's, yeah.
obviously, that's where he went.
Right. And so that was kind of like I said, he knew his worth, so he's definitely going
Oh,
there.
yeah, he always, his entire career, he knew his worth. He was never,
Sorry, Daddy.
That's okay.
never in the dark about any of that.
Exactly. And by 1918, he was one of the world's best paid and best known figures of that modern day time.
Oh, yeah. He
By
was,
1918.
He was, I think my notes say he was one of the highest paid people in any profession and anywhere
Yeah.
in the world.
And then so like by 1918, he was one of the world's best paid and best known figures. And so in 1919, just a short year later, it could be even less than that, he actually co-founded the distribution company known as United Artists.
Yes.
So me and you were kind of talking about that too, is that
Yeah.
if you look at some of these, especially the 80s films, and 70s, 80s, 60s, 90s, whatever, there was United Artists all over the place.
Oh yeah, they've been in
And so-
operation since I don't remember we'll come to what year they actually founded that, but
Right, yeah. And
oh, you said 1919, right?
1919, yeah, he co-founded the distribution company, which gave him complete control over his films at that point.
Oh yeah, and he co-founded
So-
it with So Douglas Fairbanks was
Yes.
up and coming at the time as well. They actually became really close with each other.
Yep.
There was Pickford. Was it Mary Pickford?
Mary Pickford. Yep.
Yeah.
You're
also,
right.
and then there was a fourth one, and I couldn't pin down what the fourth one was.
I couldn't either.
It was definitely those three though, and there was another one that I never did find actually who the other one was.
Yeah, I can't remember what that one was either.
But yeah, they ended up collaborating together and creating that, and you know they were changing the politics of the film industry. You know, they made a lot of the practices that they still use today,
Right.
stemmed from Chaplin and mostly Chaplin, but these other two as well.
Yeah.
When they did this whole collaboration thing on that.
And with that being said, his first feature-length film was The Kid in 1921.
Yes.
And so I'm thinking that the first feature-length film had to have been more than at least 45 minutes or so, because back then it was like 15, 20 minutes and then you're done, because that's
Right.
all you did.
Exactly.
And so...
And I think for The Kid, I think that, that was the first full-length film that he got to do, and I think that it said that it took it, whereas like they were releasing like several in a week's time formerly, because they were just little tiny snippets and reels of things. I think it said that it took him around 15, like I could be getting the number wrong, between 12 and 15 months to actually make that one, because he was, and also he could
actually The Kid I think was 9 months, because I think he was doing 9 months because of the baby that he was supposed to have with this lady, and we're gonna have to get into her to get into this part, because
the first
he
of
got
his 4 wives.
Yes.
Let's see.
Which, I mean, was it Lita Gray?
That was the second one.
That was the second one. That's right. Yes. I'm trying to remember. Gosh, what was her name?
Mildred Harris.
There you go. Yes.
And this is why he was so controversial with his escapades with females.
Buckle up. Here we go.
He was. So this was 1919, like we said, and he's just done all this. And while this is forming, this whole company that they have.
Yep.
He's at age 30, and his first of 4 wives is actress Mildred Harris, who was only 16 years old at the time. And this is going to continue for the rest of his life. He had a penchant for younger women.
Yes.
And I mean, I love the man to death. He was revolutionary, no doubt. But why these women kept kind of gravitating toward him in a romantic way when,
I think they were gold diggers.
When these kind of things. Well, and all of them were already actresses, too. That's how he met all of them.
But then obviously he produces and directs his own stuff.
That's
so
true.
I'm thinking this guy has money.
So then he was tricked into marrying her.
Yep.
Because she made a pregnancy claim that was not true at the time.
Yep.
But then she did end up pregnant after that.
Right.
She gave birth to Norman Chaplin, and
I believe that's his first kid.
That was his first kid, and sadly, he only lived for 3 days.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So he was born with complications.
So it went through the whole 9-month process. And then after that 9 months, he only lived for 3 days, like you're saying, and then he died. So therefore, he wanted to do The Kid in production for 9 months.
Yes.
To go through that whole process of what he had to go through.
Yes. Definitely. That was the I have that too. That was the his biggest inspiration for doing that movie.
And then followed by
processing his grief of that.
Right. Yeah. And so that kind of helped him in a way process, like you said, the whole grieving process through the whole film.
Oh yeah, and see that's what I love about him. Is like at any point in his life, whatever like tragic thing he's going through, he always manages to kind of seep it into his art.
Yeah.
As a way of dealing with it, which he was one of the first performers of anything to kind of do that. And
right.
Then, artists do that now.
Yeah.
And they have been doing that.
Yeah.
But he was kind of the first example of oh, this tragic thing happened to me. I'm not going to lie down and die. I'm going to turn it into art.
Right. Which is going to take you out of that deep hole that you're in.
Yeah.
And be able to see that there is, sunlight, basically. And after the kid...
I wanted to mention that the little kid actor...
Oh, yeah.
I didn't write his name down, actually, but they said that critics hailed that performance that kid did in that movie as one of the best child actor performances of all time, still.
Which is crazy following Charlie Chaplin, what they said about him back in the day.
Yeah.
So that's crazy, too. And then after the kid, it was followed by A Woman of Paris in 1923.
Yeah.
The Gold Rush in 1925,
Gold Rush.
and The Circus in 1928.
Oh, this is one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, The Circus seemed pretty cool. I need to still, I'll admit, I still need to watch most of these films.
Yeah.
But I did watch The
I
Tramp,
haven't
and The
seen
Tramp's good.
any of them for a long time myself. I mean, I've seen
Yeah.
most of them. I haven't seen many of them for a long time. I used to have like a nice little box set of
yeah.
DVDs that was like pretty much all of his movies.
Oh, yeah.
But stupid ex-husband pawned them
Of course.
when we were still together, so never saw that
It's
again.
like, well, I guess that's gone.
I was so mad. I was like crying. I was so mad.
And so when we were talking about all the women that he's been with, while making the Gold Rush movie, Chaplin married for the second time, mirroring the circumstances of his first union, so
Yes.
his first love and first person that he married.
Yeah.
Lita Gray was a teenage actress originally set to star in the film, whose surprise announcement of pregnancy forced Chaplin into marriage.
Yep.
She also was 16.
Yes, and by then he was 35.
Yep. Meaning Chaplin could have been charged with statutory rape under California law, because that's
If he
obviously
hadn't-
where he was at.
Yes, and that was the reason for the marriage.
Yep, and so therefore he arranged a discreet marriage in Mexico on November 25th, 1924. Of course, my birthday.
Oh my god!
Yeah. You share a
I didn't
birthday
know
with
that
Charlie
was the
Chaplin
date.
of doing this.
I did
You got
not know that was
married.
the date.
Yeah, November
That's so
25th.
funny. I'm gonna go home and tell my grandma that because
Yeah.
her birthday is also November 25th.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Funny world
Like,
we live
guess
in.
what? Charlie Chaplin married his extremely underage wife
Yeah. And
to
it's,
avoid statutory rape charges on November 25th.
and it's funny because another shout out to Morbid Podcast. I listened to Elena and Ash,
Yeah.
and they also go through a lot of different things where they're like, okay, well, this guy, because they go through True Crime Podcast, and then they're like, oh, yeah, so this happened on this date, which happens to be somebody we know
Yeah.
that their birthday is, and then this happened this date. Oh, it lines up with this.
I
So
love that.
it's kind of weird that now, since I'm doing this with you, that we do have something that lines up.
That's really funny. Yeah, I mean, I knew about the wedding in Mexico, but I didn't know that was the day.
Yeah, yeah.
That's so cool.
So yeah, they originally did meet during her childhood, and
Yeah.
she previously appeared in his works, The Kid, and The Idle Class is where he met her.
Yes.
So she was obviously into that. And then
And then so their first son together was Charlie Chaplin III,
Yep,
born in May of 1925.
yep.
And the same year, this is cool. This is a cool little fact. The same year that he was born, Chaplin was the first movie star to be on Time magazine.
Time cover magazine, yeah,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
Yeah.
But so they didn't have. It was only newspapers at that point, right? They didn't have magazines coming out quite yet.
Well,
Because I was looking at like Time Cover, it says in the Wikipedia type stuff. So I'm wondering if Time Cover is just a time cover of like New York Times or California Times or whatever they had back then, and then he was just on the cover, and finally
Yeah.
made it on the cover of that kind of a deal.
yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting point because I don't actually remember what year Time magazine actually started publishing.
Yeah. So
I mean, it was back their ways, but I
yeah.
don't remember.
So if anybody's listening and you got that comment section, that
Yeah,
would
let
help
us
us
know.
out because
Yeah.
we're not sure exactly on that.
Didn't find anything about like what specifically when they started.
And then they had another son named Sidney Earl Chaplin.
Yes.
On
after
March
Charlie's
30th,
brother.
1926.
March-
After
okay.
his brother, yep. And then on, like you were saying, July 6, 1925, it became the first movie star to be featured on Time Cover, which is crazy. It's awesome.
It is awesome. Unfortunately, though, it was an unhappy marriage between them, and after about 2 years of it, Lita took the children and left.
Yeah. And during that bitter divorce, Gray's application of accusing Chaplin of infidelity, abuse, and harboring perverted sexual desires
Yeah.
was leaked to the press. And so back then, of course, it was just radio and newspapers.
Yeah.
So you don't have social media and all that kind of stuff, which could be instantaneous.
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness
Can
for
you
him
imagine?
back then. Yeah.
I mean, he was already screwed, but he would have really been screwed.
Like, oh,
It would have been like
this
around
happened.
the world in a second. He'd have been
Right.
like ruined.
Yeah.
If he lived today, oh my god, and all the stuff that he did with
Oh
especially
my
with
gosh.
the women. Yeah.
Like 35 and 16, 30 and 16.
30 and 16,
Like,
and then I
what's-
think
what's
'cause
going
this-
on,
I think
Charlie?
I'm skipping forward a little bit. And we'll get into it. But when he was 54, he married an 18-year-old,
Yeah.
and that was actually the one that Una O'Neill.
Una
That was
O'Neill.
actually the one that he was with till he died.
Yep. So she stayed with him, and he was 54
54.
at that time, right?
Yep.
And she was 18.
18.
And it's like, oh my gosh, dude. And at that time, when he's 54, I mean, that had to have been 1940s,
Yep.
1950s,
Yep.
and just probably a little bit after he did The Dictator.
Yeah.
And so The Dictator, since we're talking about that now, the Dictator movie, he uses
1940,
comedian.
The Great Dictator.
Yep, 1940, The Great Dictator came out, and obviously that was during the peaks of World War II, or starting of World War II.
Yep.
And he really got into the Hitler persona at that point.
Oh yeah, and what's most remembered about that movie, as a lot of people say, is that the end shot is a 5-minute long monologue that doesn't cut away from him, and of him just ranting and raving, the Hitler, the German Nazi, whatever stuff that he's doing.
Basically saying that war is not good.
Right.
And
the whole thing was a satire.
Right.
Also,
And
but
unfortunately, with that piece of him having that 5-minute dialogue or monologue at it, that it was actually, unfortunately, the slow decline of his career.
yeah, that was the start of his popularity going down. The start of him being investigated by the FBI and by Attorney General, and leading to his eventual exile from the country.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, basically, with that whole dictator thing going on with the Dictator movie and portraying Adolf Hitler and all that kind of stuff, obviously everybody always he got the attention of FBI agents at that point.
Oh yeah.
Because they were wondering what's going on and why he's doing this kind of a thing.
Well, yeah, because they were afraid of, the foothold of communism in America, of course.
Yep.
And then with all the war started, that was even a bigger threat.
Right.
So yeah, he was heavily under investigation for
several
years before they even exiled him from the country.
Right. And so with all that being said, Chaplin actually went into a huge nervous breakdown as the story became headline news, and groups formed across America calling for his films to be banned at that point.
Yeah.
So eager to end the case without further scandal, Chaplin's lawyers agreed to a cash settlement of $600,000.
Yep.
The largest awarded by American courts at that time.
Insane.
So it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I mean, if you think about the way that money was, how much it was worth and everything of those days.
Yep.
That was a lot of. Can you imagine how much would that be now?
I mean, 600,000. Well, what we were thinking, like 1,500 a week would be about 48,000. So you're talking about like a 30,000 jump. So I mean, it's got to be astronomical. I mean, at least 4, 5, 6, 7 million.
That is crazy.
I mean, it's got to be somewhere up there.
Yeah.
But the thing is that his fan base was super strong at that point as well. That it was enough to kind of survive the incident, and it was soon forgotten after a little bit.
Yes, yeah.
So that did happen, but Chaplin was still deeply affected by it.
Well, of course, and I mean, of course,
on.
it's gonna, put some dings on his public image now.
Yeah.
I mean, whether or not any of it is true, or any allegations are, people are gonna speculate.
Right, and adding more fuel to that fire. So adding more fuel to that fire, less than 5 months after the divorce thing that actually happened as well.
Yep.
Then Gray's former butler, Don, I want to say Solovich, was murdered in Utah, and articles speculated about connections between Chaplin and the murder. So he also has that. So now the FBI for sure is going to go ask him questions.
That one I did not come across either.
So yeah, it was insane.
Yeah, things kind of started to just slowly spiral.
Poor Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, he still had this huge following and everything. He was still making movies, but it started to become more difficult for him to make movies. He started to request more time to make them and ask for more money, which he knew he could do because he still knows his worth.
Yep. Yep.
And then I do want to, before we move any further ahead, I do want to mention this one thing that I did find. He started a relationship with an actress named Joan Barry.
Oh, okay.
And she was a crazy, possessive, psycho stalker.
Oh, wonderful.
Because because she knew about the past of him with the underage women and the marriage and all that stuff.
So why not go in?
Right. But and
it's okay,
I'm
'cause I use
thinking instead
iodine.
of well,
Yo, yeah.
maybe that's why she was mad.
Yeah.
That happened once. And she's like, okay, you MF, I'm gonna be watching.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
And this
watch that.
channel
I'm
is
gonna watch
not
the level of that
restricted, so-
iodine bottle
Yeah.
like a hawk.
Yeah. You're gonna come into my life. Oh, I'm gonna dip right into you.
Oh God.
Take some iodine. Hooyah!
So yeah, she was very obsessive about the relationship because she's always thinking that he's stepping out or whatever. Which
Right.
I didn't find anything that was evident that he was doing that.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So he actually had her arrested twice for stalking him,
Of course.
and she filed a paternity suit while she was pregnant.
Let me get to dinner.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so I mean he didn't actually have to appear in court until the kid was born.
Oh, jeez.
But she filed the suit while she was pregnant, and insisted that he was the father, and then all this stuff, and then the blood test actually came back and proved that he was not the father of her daughter.
Oh yeah. I do remember that.
But
Shh, shh.
the court ruled in her favor anyway, and he was ordered to pay child support until her daughter was 21.
Oh.
And that kid is not his.
Oh.
There's all the evidence points to that kid is not his.
Oh man.
So,
But he
he's-
still has to pay for it.
Right, he's paying for a kid that he did not produce.
Right.
So that was another thing, and he's dealing with this crazy, witch with a bee.
Right. Yeah.
During this whole time. So that was, around about 1943 when that happened.
Jeez.
And then and that also coinciding with the continuous run of the the FBI.
Yeah.
And they're just trying to.
They are constantly on his trail.
They are, and they're just trying to. I mean, all the folly that he goes through, they're just adding it into their catalog of reasons to keep going after him.
Right.
No matter what it is.
Because you might as well.
Well, yeah, why not? Because they
You know.
they really wanted him out of the country.
Yeah.
They really believed he was communist activity.
And they were successful.
They were eventually successful, yes.
Yeah. And so, I mean, he went out of the country in 1953?
It was, 1947. They actually launched an official investigation.
Oh, that's what. Okay.
So up until that point, they were like kind of collecting. They were kind of watching and collecting.
Yeah.
And they officially launched an actual investigation in 47.
And
Which
there's even,
coincidentally is the year that my grandmother was born.
and if I have this right, I think it was J. Edgar Hoover?
Yeah, it was
that actually,
all over him.
Yeah, he was all over him, and even went so far as to making up stuff.
Yeah.
To make sure that he gets to.
Yeah, he made up. He combined like the true things, and then just kind of romanticized them, and just added padding to the, whatever was actually true, and just kind of just spiraled things around that.
Yeah.
Because whatever he had to do, because he wanted him out of the country.
Say hi.
Huh?
Say hi.
Hi.
That would be my oldest. Okay, no, we just gotta wait.
Yeah.
So,
Then,
in
so then
another-
when the investigation was officially launched, that's when his following half of them started going against him, and they were kind of like, supporting the whole idea of his deportation and all of this stuff at this point.
Right. Yeah.
So, and also,
And-
it bothered them that he had never applied for or gotten citizenship in the 30 years that he had been in the country.
Which
and-
is absolute crap.
Yeah, I mean, and at that time, I guess,
Yeah.
it's not that
Yeah.
obviously wasn't as strict as it is now.
Right.
Because he was just there for 30 years and never had to do that. So, like,
Yeah.
no passport, no visa, no nothing, no nothing.
Whereas right now, currently, it feels like.
Whereas,
they're like, oh, boop,
yeah, it's
oh,
like a whole
boop.
bunch of hoops and jumps for nothing.
Right.
You know?
It's backtracking a little bit, but the Circus movie
Yeah.
was released in January of 1928 to a positive reception at the first Academy Awards, which is kind of a pivotal thing to remember.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
1928 was the first Academy Awards ever.
Yep.
So that's when it started. Chaplin was given a special trophy for versatility and genius in acting, writing, directing, and producing the circus. I didn't know he did all of
Oh,
that.
yeah, he did. And as he should.
I thought he
definitely
was just
deserved
doing the acting and directing
Oh,
and maybe
no.
producing, but I didn't know he did everything.
that. Yeah, at that point with that one, he was all encompassing of all of it.
Okay.
He
yeah.
had totally just
And
gotten to the point where he was just a mogul.
And I believe they were also saying that for him getting that, I don't know, I think it's actually later on in the timeline that he came back into the United States again to get some kind of reward, right?
Yeah, that is so. So he was they exiled him in. It was when he. So it was actually when he got on the Queen Elizabeth charter to go back to London to premiere Limelight.
Okay, yeah.
Which was
19.
Which was one of
53?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Think so.
I think so. Yeah, and which that was the most autobiographical movie that he did because it was mirroring like the impoverished childhood and like how he like went from rags to riches and had the and like I said, the whole like when his mother's stage acting career fell through and then he started to gain all this notoriety. She harbored a little bit of resentment.
Yeah.
Because it never worked for her.
Right.
And she went insane.
Yeah.
So Limelight was touching very heavily on that aspect of it, and it was very autobiographical for him.
Right. Yeah.
So they were premiering that in London, and as soon as one day after they got on the ship to go, him and Una, he got a telegram from J. Edgar Hoover that said that he was not allowed back into the United States.
That's
as soon as he was on that ship,
they
were like, okay, now we got him.
Yeah. It's like they're just like waiting for him to cross that line and just be like,
him,
okay, boom.
They did him dirty.
Yeah.
That was pardon my French, but the biggest dick move I think I've ever heard of in my entire life.
I agree. You're just literally waiting there to
right.
have him cross.
Like, yeah, as soon as he's out of the freaking the country.
Yeah.
Like the whatever you call
barrier,
the barrier,
or whatever.
The border
yeah,
of the country.
The border. Yeah.
Nope, you're gone.
Yeah, and it's just ridiculous. But
and I mean, I understand. I mean, the whole communism thing. I mean, I don't know why. I mean, he was. I mean, he did a lot of things. Sure, he was like facing personal problems. Stuff was actually happening to him.
Right.
All of that is gonna weigh on someone's image if they're in the public eye.
Yeah.
Because people like to gossip. People don't actually know what's happening. People don't want to know what's happening. They just want to gossip.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just unfortunate that it was at the same time as World War II.
Right.
When all that stuff was happening.
The dictator movie and everything else going on. Yeah.
And the fear of communism in America was a huge thing.
And he did
and they
go
had
back.
To tie him into that. Yeah.
He left and went to Switzerland.
Yes.
Him and Unis.
Him and Una went to Switzerland.
Yeah.
Yeah, Unis.
Unis.
Yeah, they.
But yeah.
And actually, the two of them had 8 children together.
Yeah.
So in all, I think I tallied it right. He was fathered 11 children.
11 children. Yep.
Was in his life.
11 total, which is outrageous.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if there's got to be some of those kids still alive, I would think.
Oh, there's his lineage. There's got to be grandkids and great grandkids, I mean, there's.
But of like the original children, I think somebody maybe is still around.
Well, yeah, I don't remember what year he had they had the last one. Because remember, he was 54 when they got married.
That's true. I
mean, that doesn't mean that he can't still make babies.
Right.
But she had plenty of time because she was 18.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So they were there. He was exiled
Charlie.
from. Yeah, he was a little bit of a man slut.
Yep, he kind of was.
He was. I mean, to be honest though, when I was researching, I honestly thought that he was married to more people.
Yeah.
I mean, 4 is a lot, but I thought it would be like 8.
8, yeah, at least.
Because of the way that he kind of got around. So.
Yeah. Kind of pulled a Nick Cannon.
A little, God, Nick Cannon, dude. Doesn't he have more kids than that though?
He's got to have. Well, I don't know exactly, but I mean, I think 11 or 12.
Yeah,
at least.
I think he's
that
got,
we know of.
I think he's got 12 actually, 12 or 13 or some ridiculous.
But then, so he went to Switzerland, and they were pretty much living out their life for.
Yeah, they were they were by Lake Geneva.
Yeah,
their house overlooked Lake Geneva,
which is beautiful.
Oh yeah, it's really pretty.
If you could see the pictures of that, it's beautiful.
And actually the interesting thing is that Una renounced her American citizenship because they kicked him out of the country, so she became an official British citizen.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
okay.
About like a year or 2 after he was exiled.
Mm.
So I thought that was really cool. Like, she's the one that like stand by your man, you know.
Yeah.
I don't want to be an American either.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Jeez. So then, so they were there, and it was about he was exiled from there about 20 years. He didn't return to the United States, and then
they did contact him.
they did. In 1960s though, he actually received an honorary doctorate from Oxford University.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he did.
In the 60s, they
Yeah.
kind of started to like relook at his work and be like, well, he had a bunch of he made some mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
He had some personal things. Whatever happened with him, and like we don't really think it's necessary for him to be exiled from America anymore.
Yeah.
And they were starting to like look back on his movies and see what he actually contributed to the, the culture and the art. And he's like the groundbreaking one for a bunch of how they do things.
Yeah, the pioneer.
Now.
Yeah.
So they were starting to kind of feel that way about that, and then, sadly though, in 1971, his health started to decline after having a series of strokes.
Yep. Started deteriorating a little bit.
Yeah.
But then he got over in time to get, I forgot to write this down, but he got invited to, I think it's Academy Awards again in 1974.
Was it?
Where they did...
72.
72.
Yeah.
Okay, 1972. Where they did an award for him, correct?
Yeah, 1972. Well, a little step back before that. He actually received high honors at the Cannes Film Festival.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's right.
Like around 1971, and then also the following year at the Venice Film Festival.
Gosh.
But then in 72, yeah, he was invited to America to accept an honorary Oscar from the Academy Awards.
Right, yeah, that's what it was, honorary. And to this day, they said that the standing applause was so long.
It was 12 minutes,
Yeah,
and that is
jeez.
the longest in the Academy's history to this day. Still.
Yep. And I should have looked at like who would have been the second longest, but that is by far.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to see if I can find a video of it somewhere.
Yeah, and
Maybe
we have to
it
put it on like
exists
Instagram
somewhere,
or Facebook or something of
Yeah.
the video of that happening, because that's crazy.
Also, yeah, if anybody has ever seen a video of that Oscar, him receiving that, let us know in the comments. Put a link down there or something.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Because I've actually never. I mean, I've seen snippets of it, like in documentaries when they show it, but I've never seen the whole ovation, which would be great.
Somebody actually my eye.
Oh, okay. Kids, gotta love them. So yeah, after that point, I mean, obviously we've already been talking about his health kind of deteriorating at that point. So the Charlie's films, I would like to say, is The Circus, Limelight, Gold Rush, The Tramp, The Great Dictator, Kid Auto Races at Venice.
Oh, we forgot about Modern Times.
Yes, that's in there too. City Lights, The Kid, Modern Times, among many others that he did later on.
Modern Times is actually the one that I remember the most. Because you know what I remember is the part where I don't know if you've seen it, but the part where because it's a satire on the, industrial conditions or whatever at the time, is like they show like a side view of him, and he's like got a wrench and he's trying to like fix the cogs and stuff in the machine.
Oh.
And he ends up like snaking through like the cogs.
Oh.
It's like a stop motion thing, and
that's
it's
cool.
really cool.
Okay, I'll change you in 1 second.
That one's definitely one of the best ones.
Yeah, that would be cool. I need to start watching these because I just still
we need to track these down, and 'cause I haven't seen them for a long time.
Right, yeah.
Let's see, by October. Oh, and then he was knighted by Queen Elizabeth II.
Yep.
Shortly after the Academy Awards. He was too weak to kneel, so she did it with him in his wheelchair.
Yep, at Buckingham Palace.
With Buckingham Palace.
Yep, March 4th, 1975. At the time, he was 85 years old.
Yep.
So it's crazy. And he received the honor for his contributions to film, and he became Sir Charles Spencer Chaplin to not only England, but the whole world.
Yep.
So it's a good ending point for him to know that through all the turmoil that he's been through in his entire life, ups and downs, which it seemed like towards after 1940s, it was more down.
Oh, yeah.
But then he had a little bit of ups to close out everything in his life.
Yeah, and you know what the nicest thing is, that Academy Award that he got is really the pinnacle of what he could have achieved, because like, especially after being exiled from the country for 20 years, he was, it was so nice for him to, leave the earth knowing that he reconciled that
Yeah.
and kind of got some closure on that, even though it was a wrong done to him
Right.
to begin with.
Right.
It was nice that he got, was accepted back and got,
Yeah.
oh, you can come back anytime. You're no longer exiled,
Yeah, which is a good feeling that you're just like, oh my gosh, finally.
Yeah.
And, it's good to be accepted. And so that's good. I mean, anybody that's been through that kind of a stuff too, of not being accepted or anything that's been kind of like, I guess you want to say a bully situation, you can always move forward and you can always overcome anything that you want to overcome.
Yeah.
And for him, it was just back in that time, he's like, well, then I'm going to go to Switzerland, take my 18-year-old wife at the time, even though I'm 54.
Right. We're going to have
And
8 more kids. And we're
8
gonna,
more kids.
We're going to be good.
Slap you with more iodine.
Listen, you know what?
Maybe at that point he's done.
Well, I was going to say, maybe at some point he decided that was not the best idea.
Yeah.
That's not really
The Department of Health and Human Services said it's not great to use this for fornication.
Right. Maybe because of him, there's like a label on the bottle now that says,
Yeah.
not intended to be lube.
Yeah, do not pull a Charlie Chaplin.
Oh God, I hope more people react to that because that's got to be the craziest thing that I
we want you to comment the living
ever
crap
read
out
about
of this
him.
thing.
Yeah.
If anybody has any more information that we didn't cover and you want to put that in the captions or anything down there for messaging services, I guess you want to call it, comments. I can't talk. I can't think.
Please comment and any and everything. We want to hear from you guys.
Yeah, because in my opinion, like the only way you know more information is something that somebody else knows more about. So if you know more about him and whatever, please share it with us, and we'd love to hear it.
It would. It's like that '90s banner that they used to show on TV where they would say whatever, and then the star would go across there, and it would say, "The more you know."
The more you know.
Like,
Yep.
That's
and
what we
this
want.
is us signing off.
Okay, so then by October of 1977, his health was so bad that he couldn't get out of bed anymore.
Yeah.
And sadly, on Christmas Day of 1977, he passed away at home after having a stroke in his sleep.
Which I guess in a way is a peaceful way to go.
Well, yeah, it's nice that he was at home.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And I'm sure Una and the kids were like right there, so he died with I'm sure he died with all of them around him.
So that's, at least he went peacefully in a way.
I mean, it's horrible that it was a stroke.
Yeah. I mean, it's a stroke, but then like, hopefully he was already asleep by the time he was doing it, and then stroke hit, and then boom. So hopefully that's how he went. But
he was 88.
Yeah, 88. It's
died.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he actually, he went through a lot in his life, but he did live a pretty long life.
Right. Yeah. And no matter how, I don't know if you can go on YouTube. There's an app that's called the Plex. There's Tubi, Sling, all that kind of stuff. If you have a chance to go through all these films, it is a perfect opportunity to go through and know exactly how he was as a person and as a performer.
It'll make the experience of watching them so much more profound for you, for sure.
Yeah, and so, did you have any closing comments?
I think that about wraps it up. I just wanted to add this weird thing that we were talking about where, in 1978, a year after he was, buried, his coffin was dug up.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And the body was held for ransom. They were attempting to, extort money from Una.
Okay, yeah.
And I don't remember if it said how long they actually had his body, but they caught them, and then Charlie's coffin was found buried in a field in a nearby village. So they got the coffin and the body and put it all back. But that was another crazy last thing that I researched. That was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of wondering if it's like one of those. I don't know. I'm speculating, but it could be a thing where it's like, well, I don't really like Charlie Chaplin. I'm going to take his body.
Well,
regardless.
it could have been that, or it could have just been, people that know that's Charlie Chaplin and he's world renowned, whatever.
Yeah.
So we can get money from his widow if we take his body.
Yeah, because I guess there was a ransom type thing.
Right, yeah, it was. So.
Yeah, so that makes sense.
People were sick back then too, taking people's bodies.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's the '70s, man.
Right. It's 78, bro.
Yeah.
We're gonna smoke some weed and go dig up this
Right.
dig up this coffin of this 88-year-old guy.
What'd you do today? I digged out somebody's dead
Right.
body.
I got it back there in the freezer. I'm holding it for ransom.
Right. Go in bed and one, two.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
People are weird.
So, this does conclude the second part of Charlie Chaplin. Obviously, the pioneer, the best,
The man.
the goat
The
of film
goat.
industry.
Yes.
And then for our next episode, which be next Saturday, actually, same time, we're gonna do
Vincent Price.
yeah,
which
Chelsea's
is
favorite,
one of my personal favorites. Also, have seen pretty much every single movie. James has not.
We're gonna see some.
We're
tonight.
gonna remedy that
Yep,
because
we're gonna
that's
see some tonight.
unacceptable.
Yep.
If you're gonna be a movie fan and a horror movie fan, you're gonna
Yep.
see Vincent Price. So
Yep.
because he is like original master of the macabre.
Yes.
You know, he did all of Edgar Allan Poe's stuff. He actually was in a lot of several ones before his horror career took off that were not horror.
Oh,
When
okay.
he was like very young, when he was like in his 20s and stuff. So
Some more information we're gonna.
well,
have to
also,
dig
I mean,
into.
I actually have to dig more into that myself because I don't know as much about that time as I do about the the horror stuff.
Right. Yeah. So that'd be good to know.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated about that.
Yeah, we're gonna totally. I haven't gotten to turn anybody on to Vincent Price in a long time
So tonight's
because all of my all the friends I used to have and stuff, and we used to all watch. They already all knew who Vincent Price was, and they already seen everything. So I get to pretty much just look at you while we're watching Vincent Price
Yeah.
movies because
I'm literally.
I
Gonna,
know him like the back of my hand.
Yeah, I'm literally gonna break my Vincent Price cherry tonight.
Yeah, we're gonna pop the Vincent Price cherry. You heard it here first.
Yep.
On Lights, Camera, Action.
Yep, that's right.
So that's
Followed
next
by-
Saturday. So tune in for that.
Yep, that's gonna be awesome. But otherwise, yep, we're gonna leave you with Charlie Chaplin is a great guy.
Yes,
and
and
thank
again,
you for everything.
if you're not familiar with him before listening to this, please, seek out his work, seek out his, it's all masterful works of art, and he needs to be. If you're any kind of a film fan at all, he needs to be in your repertoire.
Absolutely.
Completely. So
Yep. So this is James,
this is Chelsea.
and this has been Lights
Camera
Action Podcast.